In the late 1990s, the internet was exploding. Every day, thousands of new websites were appearing online. Companies were rushing to build the next big thing, investors were pouring money into internet startups, and millions of people were discovering the web for the very first time. At the center of this rapidly growing digital world was one company: Yahoo. At the time, Yahoo wasn't just a website. It was the internet. If you wanted to read the news, check your email, search for websites, or explore what was happening online, Yahoo was usually the place you started. The company had built one of the most popular websites in the world. Its homepage was filled with links, news headlines, sports updates, email services, and directories that helped people navigate the internet. Back then, search engines were still primitive. People often relied on directories where websites were categorized by topic. Yahoo's directory system made it easier for users to find what they were looking for. Because of this, Yahoo quickly became one of the most powerful companies on the internet. By the late 1990s, Yahoo was worth billions of dollars. Its founders were celebrated as pioneers of the digital age. Investors believed the company would dominate the internet for decades. To many people, Yahoo looked unstoppable. But while Yahoo was building its massive internet portal, two graduate students at Stanford University were working on something that would change the internet forever. Their names were Larry Page and Sergey Brin. The two students were studying how search engines worked and why they often failed to produce useful results. At the time, most search engines ranked websites based on how many times certain words appeared on a page. This often led to poor results. Websites could easily manipulate the system by stuffing pages with keywords. Page and Brin believed they could build something better. They created a new system that ranked websites based on how many other websites linked to them. Their idea was that links could act like votes. If many websites linked to a page, it was probably important. This system allowed their search engine to organize information much more effectively than existing tools. They called their new search engine Google. At first, Google was just a research project. The founders were not trying to build a massive technology company. In fact, they initially wanted to sell the technology. Running a startup required funding, business experience, infrastructure, and employees. Selling the technology to a larger internet company seemed like the easiest path forward. So Page and Brin began approaching companies that might be interested in buying their search engine. One of the companies they contacted was Yahoo. At the time, Yahoo was the perfect candidate. The company already had millions of users and enormous influence over the internet. If Yahoo integrated Google's search technology into its platform, it could become even more powerful. So the founders reportedly made an offer. They were willing to sell Google. The price? About $1 million. Today, that number sounds almost impossible to believe. But back then, Google was just a small experimental project with uncertain potential. Yahoo had the opportunity to buy it. But Yahoo declined. The company didn't see search as its core business. Instead, Yahoo believed its strength was being an internet portal. Yahoo wanted users to spend as much time as possible on its website. The longer users stayed on Yahoo's pages, the more advertisements the company could display. Search engines, however, were designed to send people away from the website. If someone searched for something and quickly found the answer, they would leave the page almost immediately. From Yahoo's perspective, that wasn't ideal. So the company chose not to buy Google. Instead, Yahoo continued focusing on expanding its portal services. Meanwhile, Google kept improving its search engine. Slowly, people began noticing something important. Google's search results were better. They were faster. And they helped users find exactly what they were looking for. Google also had another advantage. Its homepage was incredibly simple. While Yahoo's homepage was crowded with links, advertisements, and content, Google's page had almost nothing on it. Just a logo. And a search box. That simplicity made Google extremely easy to use. Users didn't have to navigate complicated menus or directories. They could simply type what they wanted and get results instantly. As word spread, Google's popularity began growing rapidly. More and more people started using it as their primary search engine. Within a few years, Google was handling millions of searches every day. Yahoo eventually realized that Google's search technology was impressive. So in the early 2000s, Yahoo partnered with Google. For a period of time, Yahoo actually used Google's search technology to power its own search results. In other words, the company that had once rejected Google was now relying on it. But this partnership would not last forever. Because Google was building something much bigger than just a search engine. The company had discovered a powerful way to turn search into a massive business. Google introduced a new advertising model that would completely change the internet economy. Instead of displaying random banner ads, Google placed small text advertisements next to search results. These ads were based on what users were searching for. If someone searched for flights, they might see ads from airlines. If someone searched for cameras, they might see ads from electronics stores. Because the ads were closely related to what users actually wanted, they were extremely effective. Businesses were willing to pay significant amounts of money to appear in those search results. This advertising model became incredibly profitable. Google's revenue began growing rapidly. The company that had once tried to sell itself for $1 million was suddenly becoming one of the most valuable companies in the world. Yahoo, meanwhile, continued focusing on its portal strategy. The company invested heavily in news, media, email, and entertainment services. But its search technology never became as strong as Google's. In 2002, Yahoo reportedly had another chance to buy Google. By then, Google had already proven that its search engine was extremely powerful. This time, the price was much higher. About $5 billion. Yahoo considered the deal. But once again, the acquisition never happened. And that decision would become one of the most expensive missed opportunities in technology history. Over the next decade, Google expanded far beyond search. The company launched Gmail, Google Maps, Google Chrome, YouTube, Android, and dozens of other products that became essential parts of the internet. Google's influence grew across nearly every part of the digital world. Today, Google's parent company Alphabet is worth well over $1 trillion. Meanwhile, Yahoo struggled to maintain its position. The company went through multiple CEOs, strategy changes, and attempts to reinvent itself. But it never regained the level of dominance it once had. In 2017, Yahoo sold its core internet business to Verizon for around $4.5 billion. A company that had once been one of the most powerful names on the internet had faded into the background. Looking back, the story of Yahoo and Google has become one of the most famous missed opportunities in business history. Yahoo had the chance to buy Google when it was just a small research project. But the company didn't recognize the potential of what it was seeing. Instead, it focused on protecting the business model that had already made it successful. And while Yahoo continued building its internet portal, Google quietly built the future of the internet. The lesson from this story is simple. Innovation doesn't always look impressive at the beginning. Sometimes the ideas that change the world start as small experiments. Projects that seem insignificant. Opportunities that don't appear urgent. Companies that fail to recognize those opportunities can watch the future grow without them. Yahoo once controlled the gateway to the internet. But the startup it rejected went on to define the modern digital world. Google began as a small research project. Yahoo had the chance to own it. But the company that once ruled the internet said no. And that decision became one of the most expensive mistakes in technology history.